We are in Negaim, and we are in Yud Aleph. Nesakim can become confined tummy for two.
Yeah.
Right. Nesakim can become
Carry on.
confined tummy for 2 weeks, and are confirmed tummy with two symptoms: with deficient blonde hair, or with expansion. Deficient blonde hair means damage. By being short, these are the words of Rabbi Akiva. The Yochanan ben Nuri says even long. Then Yochanan ben Nuri, what do people mean when they say this stick is dark, or this reed is dark? Don't they mean it is very thin, disregarding whether it is short or long? Rabbi Akiva said to him, before we learn from a reed, we should learn from hair. When people say so-and-so's hair is dark, they use dark to mean very short and not long and very thin. Deficient blonde hair renders the nesek tame whether together or scattered, surrounded or not surrounded, changed by the nega or not changed. These are the words of Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Shimon says it is only renders tame if changed by the nega. Said Rabbi Shimon, it is logical argument. If white hair was tuma is not controlled by other hair, renders a nega tame only if it was changed by the pre-existing nega. Should not deficient blonde hair, which is curtailed by other hair, render tame only when changed. Yehuda says whenever the Torah means to say change, it means change. However, a nesek about which it says it had no blonde hair within it renders the nesek tame within change or not changed. New growth, black hair saves from blonde hair and from expansion, whether together or scattered, surrounded or not surrounded. Remaining hair saves from blonde hair and from expansion, whether together or scattered, but only surrounded. When it is on the side, it does not save unless it has two hair spaces distant from where the hair grows normally. One blonde hair, one black hair, or one blonde hair, one white hair do not save.
Okay. So just to say that outside, because it's important before we carry on with today's Mishna, is that a nega, which is on the hair or beard, has got different halachas from a baheres, which is on the regular skin. Okay, regular skin. If the nega appears and then the hair turns white, the two hairs turn white, that's a siman tuma. In the case, and there's nothing, and it doesn't make a difference if there are other black hairs or yellow hairs or red hairs or whatever it is. It doesn't matter if there are white hairs in there. That's a siman tuma. When it comes to the beard, it's different. The beard and the hair. Is that instead of white being the siman tuma, yellow is the siman tuma, and black and any other color of hair is a siman tara, which negates the nega altogether. It negates it at least negates the part of the yellow hair. Okay, so now we're going to see some more subtleties in that. In today's Mishnayos. Okay, what happens if the yellow hair preceded the nesek, just like in the case of the white hair?
When you say, I'm sorry, so when you say yellow hair, you're talking blonde hair?
Blonde, yes.
Okay, all right. All right.
Is that how they translated there? Okay,
right,
so
blonde hair.
I'll say blonde.
Blonde hair.
Okay, I'll say blonde. Fine. All right. So if blonde hair preceded the netek, that's tahor. Just like that, that's similar to a regular baheres. If the white hair was there and then the baheres came, that's not called a siman tuma. Rabbi Yehuda metame, however. So Rabbi Yehuda says it's different. Does he say it explicitly here? So Rabbi Yehuda says there's no when it's written about the baheres, it says that the white hair appeared in the baheres. But when it comes to a nesek, it just says ser tzahov yeshbo. Okay. Okay, so he doesn't. What does it say? Shachor tzamach bo nipan. Okay. So this is Rabbi Yehuda. He says that it's that this is still tame even if it was day before. Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov Omer lo metame v'lo matzil. He says the thing with the blonde hair in the nesek is that preceded the nesek. It doesn't count to be matame, but it also doesn't save, right? Where as opposed to black hair or any other color hair, that saves it from having a siman tuma. Rabbi Shimon Omer, Kol she'eno siman tuma b'nesek, harehu siman tara b'nesek. He says, if it's not a siman tuma, then it's also then it is a siman tara. So it sounds very much like the Tanakama who says that Se'at Tahov shekadam es hanesek tahor. So there's a bit of discussion as to whether he's just coming to elucidate the opinion of the Tanakama. All right, Mishnah. Hey, Ketzad megalchin is a nesek. Okay, so how do you shave the nesek? And I'll add to that. Why do you shave the nesek? Because when the kohen comes, he wants to see if there's going to be any growth. So the nesek itself is an area where the normal hair has kind of disappeared. Because if you've got the normal hair over there, you're not going to notice any kind of nesek. So what is he going to do? He's going to shave just around and leave a little border, so you can see whether it stayed the same size or not. Okay. He leaves a border 2 hair follicles wide. Okay, so you'll be able to recognize if it has spread. What happens if the kohen looks at it and says, "Oh, there's a blonde hair in it," and then the blonde hair fell out. So this means that he was already made mukhlat because of the blonde hair, and while he's outside the camp, the blonde hair falls out, and he goes rushing off back to the kohen and says, "Listen, check me out again." And the kohen looks and says, "But there's still a blonde hair in there." Also, bepisyon, or even if it hasn't been a se'atzahov, but the nesek has spread. But Techila, Basof Shavua Rishon, Basof Shavua Sheni, whether this happens at the beginning, whether it's whether he saw the Satav at the beginning or after 1 week of quarantine, or after 2 weeks of quarantine, or even after he had been dismissed. Arehu Kamos Shehaya. This nesek is as it was before. In other words, it was mukhlat. Let me just see. Nesek Tamei Kamoshehaya. Yeah, it's Tamei exactly as it was before. What happens if the Kohen had quarantined him, and then after a week it had grown, and so the Kohen said, "Okay, you're mukhlat, you're okay." And then he had the expansion contracts back to its original size. And then it grew again. So even if the expansion stayed smaller again, it went back to its original size, but now a blonde hair sprouted. It stays tamei exactly as it was before. Now, let's play some interesting games over here with geography. You've got 2 nesakim next to each other, not going into each other, but next to each other. V'shita shel se'ar mafsekas beinehem, and you've got a thin line of hair that borders between them. Nifrat mimakom echad. So what happens? So now he gets put into quarantine. And then at the end of a week, he comes back, and the kohen sees that now there's a thin band that's grown between these 2 nesakim. Okay, well, that's clearly tamei, because one of the 2 of them has expanded. Okay, tamei. Mishnei mekomos. But what happens if it expanded in 2 places? So now what he's got is 2 nesakim and 2 bridges going in between them, and what's in between the 2 bridges is normal hair.
Mm-hmm.
So now what you've got is 1 nesek that's got normal colored hair in the middle, which saves it. And that saves it from becoming tamei. Right? The normal colored hair saves it from becoming tamei altogether. Okay, how much is considered a pirza? Makom shtei saros. Just like with a baheres, it's the width of two hair follicles. And that's considered a growth in one into the other. Excuse me. Nifrat mi makom echad kegris tamei. if it spreads from one place in to the size of a gris, even if the breach is like a gris, it's tame, because the ser shachor is not mevutza betoch hanega me'acha shelo nifratz b'shnei makamos. Since it's only one place where it's breached, the colored hair, the normal colored hair, is not inside the nega. It's on the border, and that doesn't save it. Okay. Back to vav vav.
Okay. Vav's supposed Zion.
I don't think though. Let me check that out. No, vav vav.
Oh, sorry about that. Okay. Said Ben Shimon, when is this true? When it's exactly the size of a lentil. If it was larger than a lentil, the extra area is a symptom of expansion for the inner nega, and the outer one is tummy. If it contains a dough-like blemish smaller than a lentil, it is a symptom of expansion for the inner one, but not for the outer one. There are 24 extremities on the body that do not become tummy because of mikya. The tips of the fingers and toes, the tips of the ears, the tips of the nose, the tip of the body, and a woman's nipples. Rabbi Yehuda says a man's nipples are well as well. Rabbi Yehuda says also warts and hanging skin do not become tummy because of the mikya. These are the parts of the body that do not become tummy because of baharas: inside the eye, inside the ear, inside the nose, inside the mouth, inside folds of skin or folds of skin on the neck, under the breast, the armpit, the sole of the foot, the nail, the head, the beard, and the raw boil, burn, or wound. It literally a boil, a burn, or a wound that are rebellious. The above mentioned parts of the body do not become tummy because of the Negaim, nor do they become the Negaim, nor do the nega spread onto them, nor do they become tummy because of nikya, nor do they prevent it from having the status of turning completely white. The head or beard becomes bald, or if the boil, burn, or wound develop a scab, they become tummy because of the Negaim, but they are not combined with the Negaim. The nega cannot spread onto them, and they do not become tummy because of mikya. But they prevent the status of someone who turns completely white. The head and the beard before they have grown hair, and the hanging skin on the head and the beard are just like skin on the body of the body. Okay.
Cool.
All right.
Olos.
Okay. Sounds like yesterday's parsha.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
That's where we're learning
okay.
this at exactly the same time.
Right. You'd bet. A perforated slab is placed on top of the oven whose opening is sealed. If there is tumor beneath above the slab, everything becomes tummy except for what is directly above the inside of the oven, which remains tahor. If there is tumor above the inside of the oven, whatever is directly above the tumor until the sky becomes tummy. The board is placed on top of an old oven and protrudes a handbreadth in two directions, but not on the other sides. If there is tumor on this side, utensils on the other side remain tahor, and the Rav also declares them tummy. A batak does not spread tumah, but if there is a ledge, Rabbi Eliezer says it does not spread tumah. Rabbi Yeshua says we do the batak as if it did not exist, and the ledge above it spreads tumah. There is a shield of a leg of a crib that excuse me, that protrudes from the ceiling of the lower story of a house. If the hole is as big as a handbreadth, everything becomes tummy, and if not, we count the way we usually count for tumah from a corpse.
Okay. Helim.
Okay. Chet. An oven whose eye developed a crack, it measures the full size of a spindle that can enter and exit while it's on fire. Rabbi Yehuda says, which is not lit on the fire. If it developed a hole on its side, its measure is the full size of a spindle that can enter and exit unlit. Rabbi Yehuda says lit on fire. Rabbi Shimon says if the hole is in the middle, then only if it can enter. If it is at the side, and even if it cannot enter. Similarly, Rabbi Shimon would say regarding the stopper of a barrel that developed a hole, its measure is the width of the second node of the stalk of oats. In the middle, if it can enter, it is in the side, even if it cannot enter. And similarly, Rabbi Shimon would say regarding large gases that develop holes and measure the size of a second node of a reed. In the middle, if it can enter, in the side, even if it cannot enter. When are these things said? When the containers were made for wine. But if they were made for other beverages, even if they have a hole of the most minute size, they are tummy. When are these things said? When the holes were not made by the hands of man, but if they were made by the hands of man, even if the holes of the most minute size of the container was tummy. If they develop holes, utensils that are intended for food, their measure is with olives. Utensils that are intended for beverages, their measure is with beverages. A utensil that is intended for both be applied to the most stringent measure with regard to a sealed cover and with a hole large enough to let in a beverage. The following utensils protect with a sealed cover: dung utensils, stone utensils, clay utensils, earthenware utensils, dusty utensils, bones of a fish or a skin, bones of a sea creature or a skin, and wood utensils at a tahor. They protect both from their mouths and from their sides, and whether they are resting on their bases or tilted on their sides. If they were turned over their mouths, they protect all that is beneath them down to the depths, and Rabbi Eliezer rules it tummy. Next. These utensils protect all things except for an earthenware utensil, which only protects foodstuff and earthenware utensils.
One more.
Okay. With what may we sound the utensil? With plaster or with gypsum, or with pitch, or with wax, or with mud, or with excrement, with mortar, or with crushed shards, or with any substance that can be smooth. We may not surround the utensil with tin or with lead, since they cover but do not seal. We may not surround the utensil with fat pressed fig, or with the dough, neither with fruit juice, so that it does not come to be disqualified. But if one did surround it with food, it protected the utensil. Okay. And almost, hey, but base. There were 10 generations from Adam to Noah. This is to show how much patience exists before him, for who are all generations angered God increasingly until he brought upon them the water to the flood. There were 10 generations from Noah to Avram, and this is to show how much patience exists before him, for all those generations were increasingly contemptuous before God until Avram came and took it upon himself to reward for them all. In 10 tests of Father Avram, peace be on him, was tested, and he stood up to all of them. This is to make known how great the endowment of our Father Avram, peace be on him. 10 miracles were performed for our ancestors in Egypt, and 10 miracles in the Sea of Reeds. 10 plagues, the Holy One, blessed be He, brought the Egyptians in Egypt, and 10 plagues at the Sea of Reeds. With 10 trials our forefathers tried the Holy One, blessed is He, in the wilderness, and it says, they have tried me now 10 times and have not listened to my voice.
Okay.
Vamos. Hey. If one wife said he died and one said he did not die, the one who said he died may marry and collect the ketubah, while the one who said he did not die may not marry and or collect the ketubah. If one said he died and one said he was killed, the Meir says since they can contradict each other, they may not be married. But Yehuda and Reb Shimon say both agree that he is deceased, they may remarry. One witness said he died and one witness said he did not die. And a woman said he died and a woman said he did not die. She may not remarry. If a woman went overseas with a husband and then she came back and said, my husband died, she may remarry and collect the truma, but her own wife is forbidden. If she was a Yisrael's daughter married to a Kohen, she may eat truma. These are the words of Reb Tarfon. The Akiva says this is not the way to deliver her from sin. Rather, let her be forbidden from remarrying and forbidden from eating truma. If she said, my husband died and then my father-in-law died, she may remarry and collect her truma, but her mother-in-law is forbidden. If she was a Yisrael daughter married to a Kohen, she may eat truma. These are the words of Reb Tarfon. Reb Akiva says this is not the way to deliver her from sin. Rather, let her be forbidden from marrying and forbidden from eating truma. If one betrothed one of 5 women, but he did not know which one he betrothed, and each one says, I am the one he betrothed, then he should give a bill of divorce to each one, leave the ketubah payment between them, and withdraw. These are the words of Reb Tarfon. Reb Akiva says this is not the way to deliver from sin. Rather, let him give a bill of divorce and a ketubah payment to each one. If someone stole from one of the 5 people but did not know which one he stole, and each one says he stole from me, he should leave the stolen amount between them and withdraw. These are the words of Reb Tarfon. Reb Akiva says this is not the way to deliver him from sin. Rather, let him pay the stolen amount to each one. If one woman went overseas with a husband and son,
We're done.
That was it, right?
That was 3. Okay, and Trumos.
Okay, space. One man had separated truma from unclean for clean, but if he did separate an error, his truma is truma. If intentionally he has affected nothing. So too, if the son of a Levite who has temple Misa continued separating for it, or if in error, what did he do? What he did is done. If intentionally he has affected nothing. The view that says if he knew at the outset, then even if he did in error, he has affected nothing. If one immersed vessels on the Sabbath, if in error, he may use them. If willfully, he may not use them. If one typha cooked on the Sabbath in error, he may eat. If willfully, he may not eat. If one planted on the Sabbath for an error, he may maintain it. If willfully, he must uproot it. On the 7th year, whether in error or willfully, he must uproot it. One may not separate truma from ukaiva, another, or if he did separate a truma, it is not truma. All kinds of wheat count as one, all kinds of figs and dried figs and fig cakes count as one, and one may separate truma from one for the other. Where there is a priest, one may separate from the superior quality, but where there is no priest, he must separate from that which he keeps. Rabbi Yehuda says one may always separate from the superior quality.
Okay, and we're done.
All right, I'm not making a shavua. What I'm saying, every year I say I'm going to sleep Erev Pesach.